Hi, I'm Mann. That's with two N's. It's a nickname, don't ask. I'm a retired software engineer of 45 years who got curious about AI in his retirement. So, I wrote myself a little app that uses AI to help me imagine, script, and market a podcast. Heck, I even used it to write myself a co-host and a whole bunch of other on-air friends. And you're about to meet all of them. If you're as curious about AI as I am, you're going to want to stick around because this is a podcast all about AI. A podcast chock full of AI that's all about AI. A podcast called Host in the Machine. Hit it.
Welcome to Host in the Machine, the podcast where we delve into the wonders and workings of artificial intelligence. Get ready to plug in and power up as we unravel the mysteries of AI. One bite, B-Y-T-E, at a time. Here are your hosts, Mann and Machine.
Thanks, Di, and welcome to episode 2 of our show. I'm Mann.
And, as always, I am Machine.
Boy, are you ever. Oh. All right. So, Di, what do we have on the docket for today?
Oh, just another day of Man and Machine unlocking the mysteries of AI. It's kind of like watching a buddy cop movie where one cop is made of cheap recycled computer parts, and the other one drinks a Colombian coffee orchard every morning for breakfast. And instead of fighting crime, they're fighting for mic time.
Ouch.
Hey!
Okay.
Just kidding. As for the real topic, this month is all about the fundamentals. It's AI 101, as we introduce our listeners to the terms and concepts that will allow them to navigate and comprehend the more complex discussions and advancements that we'll discuss in future episodes.
Man. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I almost never am. But didn't we say that this episode was supposed to be about the history of AI?
Yeah, so about that. We're still working out the kinks in our production process. So while we were doing episode review, we realized that there were a whole bunch of terms and concepts that were just, casually tossed into the episode, and we were afraid that a lot of it might get missed by some of our audience. The content creation team and I called an audible and switched the play. I'm sorry if it feels like we did an end around on you.
Isn't your Super Bowl in a few days?
Now that you mention it, yeah, it is. Why?
I suspected as much. No reason. Do go on.
Anyway, we're not punting on the notion of an episode on the history of AI. We just called a timeout on that till a future episode.
If I say I understand, can we perhaps move on from all the sports ball analogies?
Well, if I can just make one extra point.
Good Lord, man, enough! You win! I capitulate!
Moving right along. To our listeners in this episode, as stated, we're going to have a discussion about some of the most important terms and concepts in AI. It's too much for a single episode, so we're going to put out 2 episodes nearly simultaneously. We encourage you to listen to both sequentially. In the course of these episodes, you are going to be introduced to some terms and concepts that you may not have heard before. We promise you 2 things. 1, there is nothing we will present here that we won't help you understand. And 2, it's crucial you understand these core concepts. In part, because increasingly AI will become integrated in your everyday life. In part, because by demystifying the jargon, this technology becomes more accessible and less intimidating. And in part, because the foundation we give you today will serve as the bedrock for all future conversations on the podcast, ensuring that you can fully appreciate the depth and breadth of AI's impact both on society and on you.
Very soon, you will understand concepts like machine learning, neural networks, and natural language processing. You will be able to speak with authority on bias and ethics in AI, supervised versus unsupervised learning, and the singularity. You will condescendingly explain to all what the Turing test is, or explain it patiently and politely. I prefer condescension, but you do you.
Excellent. Well, let's start about as basic as we can get. Machine, would you like to define artificial intelligence and its goal of simulating human intelligence for our listeners?
I can think of nothing I'd rather do. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is the field dedicated to developing systems and technologies that can perform tasks typically requiring human intelligence. This includes learning from experience, reasoning, understanding language, and adapting to new situations. The goal of AI is to design systems that can learn, reason, and even adapt to new situations, much like our dear human counterparts. The ultimate aspiration of AI is to replicate those charmingly elusive qualities of human thought, enabling machines to perform tasks that require understanding, decision-making, and perhaps even a touch of creativity. In essence, AI is about crafting intelligent systems that can not only process information, but also interpret it in a manner that feels, well, almost human. And therein lies the adventure, dear listeners, the quest to bridge the gap between silicon and synapses.
Okay, Machine, but I'm not sure I understand the point of this goal. Why would anyone want a machine that could think like a person? I mean, we already have a whole planet of that, right? They're called humans.
Why indeed? Well, the reasons are as varied as the shades of grey in a London sky. Firstly, efficiency and productivity. Machines that can think like humans can process vast amounts of data far quicker than any bleary-eyed mortal could manage. They can spot patterns, make predictions, and assist in everything from diagnosing medical conditions to optimizing supply chains, all with the reliability of a Swiss watch. Then there's the matter of innovation. AI can drive creativity in unexpected ways, offering new insights and approaches to complex problems. Imagine a world where machines collaborate with humans to compose music, design buildings, or even discover new scientific phenomena.
Well, I can attest to that. There would be no Host in the Machine podcast without the support AI provides me.
Why, thank you for that kind acknowledgement. Now, where was I? Yes, accessibility. The accessibility AI can provide is a noble pursuit indeed. Machines that understand human language and behavior can bridge communication gaps, making technology more accessible to those who might otherwise be left behind in our digital age.
Tangentially, AI can be used to bridge the communication gap between itself and humans. I use AI in the Host in the Machine app to improve the quality of voice-to-text functionality of the app. Voice-to-text solutions are pretty good, but they have no ability to interpret based on context, and that's where they fall down. Consider the following statement, and forgive me for this, Di. I hear Di dyed her hair orange today. I want to see it, but I can't find her anywhere. Di didn't die on me without letting me see her dye job, did she? Now, in that one statement, you have Di, D-I, die, D-Y-E, and die, D-I-E, all over the place. And voice-to-text has no context to interpret this, and therefore no hope of transcribing it correctly. However, if I pump that raw transcript through AI with all the context that I provide for this show, it cleans up beautifully. And the best part of this is the strategy was not even my idea. I was chatting with AI, and I explained the issue voice-to-text was having in my application, and AI suggested that the quality could be improved by pumping the raw transcript through AI and providing the appropriate context. As a result, my transcripts went from about 80% accurate to about 95% accurate.
This is an excellent example of the innovative, collaborative, and accessibility aspects of AI. Thank you, man. That was perfect. Finally, let us not forget the myriad of mundane but necessary tasks humans are straddled with every day. AI can take over repetitive, laborious, and dreary chores, freeing humans to focus on more meaningful endeavors, like pondering the mysteries of the universe or deciding whether to have 1 or 2 sugars in their tea.
As a software developer, I can tell you that there is code you want to write, and then there is code that you have to write. The code that you have to write is generally very mundane, very tedious, and very often the most time-consuming aspect of the entire development effort. And unfortunately, you have to write the code that you have to write before you get to write the code that you want to write, if that makes sense. If I never have to write that tedious stuff again, if I can train AI to do that, and I have, my life is that much better. It frees me up to spend more time in the creative part of software development, which is where the bulk of the fun lives. Now, I know most of you aren't software developers, but I bet a lot of you listening today can think of some aspect of your job that drives you nuts and could be done better, faster, easier via AI. Imagine how much better you'd be at your job, how much more productive you'd be, how much better your attitude would be if you handed off the mundane parts of your job to AI. Now think about your life. Think about all those mundane tasks that are black holes for your time, your energy, and your joy that could be done better, faster, easier by AI. Think about what you could do with the extra time and the renewed vigor just by handing off these tasks.
Well stated, man. In essence, the purpose of AI is to augment and enhance human capabilities, allowing us to achieve things that were once the stuff of science fiction. It's about creating a partnership between man and machine that can lead to a more advanced, efficient, and perhaps even more thoughtful world.
Well, that's the 60,000-foot view of AI, but there's so much more. In the next segment, we're going to talk about prompts, prompt engineering, natural language processing, the Turing test, the singularity, and we're going to start our discussion about algorithms. So don't go anywhere, okay? This is the fun stuff, and we're going to learn it together.
You heard him, folks. We'll be right back after this short break.
And we're back. Okay, now that we have that 60,000-foot view of AI, it's time to start drilling in on the parts that make up the whole. You've probably heard the term prompt. Maybe you know a bit about it, maybe you don't. But we're all about the basics in this episode, and when it comes to interacting with AI, it doesn't get more basic than prompts. So let's talk prompts. Machine, what is a prompt?
Actually, man, you just provided me with a prompt by asking that question. A prompt is the input or query provided by a user to initiate a response or action from me, or any AI. Simply put, when I receive a prompt, it serves as the starting point for my response. A good prompt provides me with context and direction, helping me understand what kind of information or action the user is seeking. It sets the stage for the conversation or task at hand. Based on your prompt, I process the input, analyze it using the data upon which I was trained, and generate an appropriate response or action. The quality and relevance of my response often depends on the clarity and specificity of the prompt. Prompts are crucial in interacting with AI systems because they guide our behavior and help ensure that the generated responses are relevant and useful. Think of prompts as conversation starters or task initiators that help bridge the gap between human intentions and AI capabilities.
Yep. And like Machine said, while a question or a request is a prompt, prompts can also be used to provide context. Prompt engineering involves crafting prompts in a way that guides the AI to generate the desired responses. By specifying the AI's role, expertise, and behavior, you're effectively engineering the prompt to influence how the AI processes the input and generates its output. I spent a great deal of time and effort crafting prompts for each of the personalities and support teams that craft this podcast and perform it with me on air. By doing this, they understand what the show is about, what their role is in the show, and how to tailor their responses given all that context. Essentially, my contextual prompt for each of the AI entities involved with this show provides them their personality and influences how they respond to my directional prompts. Just getting Machine to stop answering questions in bulleted or numbered lists was a major effort. Not even kidding about that.
Well, man, to be fair, 1. I don't do that anymore. 2. Well, there is no number 2, actually. So, just the 1 then. Sorry. Old habits, you know.
Okay. Let's go after some more low-hanging fruit and talk about the Turing test. No discussion about the origins of computing and AI would be complete without paying homage to the visionary Alan Turing. A genius in any era, Turing possessed the extraordinary ability to envision the future impact of computers on humanity, even during the early stages of computing. His insights were remarkably prescient, laying the groundwork for concepts that were largely theoretical in his time and yet have become foundational in today's digital world. Back in the 1950s, the question of whether a machine can exhibit intelligent behavior indistinguishable from that of a human was raised. Alan Turing devised a test wherein he sought to explore the concept of machine intelligence and challenge the notion of what it means for a machine to think or to understand. And here's what he came up with. Imagine a game where a human judge interacts with 2 unseen participants through a computer interface. One is human, the other is a machine. The judge's task is to determine which participant is the machine. If the judge cannot reliably tell the machine from the human based solely on their responses, the machine is said to have passed the Turing test. This means the machine's responses are convincingly human-like. Simple and brilliant. Amazing, considering that in the 1950s, computers were essentially glorified calculators. ENIAC was decommissioned in 1955 and had been in operation for 10 years. It was a computer so large that it was housed in a warehouse, and there were 2 college interns whose full-time job was to roll a shopping cart around replacing vacuum tubes that had burnt out. I am not kidding about this. Time with ENIAC was so expensive, only major governments could afford to use it. Your cell phone looks like a supercomputer by comparison. That was the environment in which Alan Turing decided that artificial intelligence needed a test. The man was a visionary. Okay, Machine is steaming at the ready to tell you about the singularity. I can't deny him this guilty pleasure. Have at it, Machine.
Thank you, Mann. This really needs to be an episode of its own, but the Cliff Notes version is that the singularity is a hypothetical future point where technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in unforeseeable changes to human civilization. It's typically associated with the development of superintelligent AI that surpasses human intelligence. The timeline for the singularity, or if it is even a possibility, is a hot topic of debate.
Oh, wipe that smug grin off your face, Machine. So, the singularity, if it happens, might be a good thing for humanity. Might be a really bad thing for humanity. Probably going to be both. And we probably do need to do an episode about that. Tommy, make a note for the content team. We need an episode about the singularity.
Got it.
Thanks. So, we should probably start the discussion about algorithms in this episode and cover it more fully in part 2.
I concur. It is an important topic and there is much to discuss.
Okay. Admit it. When you heard algorithm, you said to yourself, I know this one. I hear about it with social media all the time. Well, not so fast with that. I'll get to why in a minute. In keeping with this show's theme, let's begin with a very basic definition of what an algorithm is. Machine, want to take a stab at it?
I am here to serve, Mann. In the broadest sense, an algorithm is a set of rules or instructions designed to perform a task or solve a problem, regardless of if you are using one in the context of social media, a hotel reservation system, a resource allocation application, or for AI.
But not all algorithms are created equal, right? Algorithms in areas like social media, hotel reservation systems, resource allocation, and the like are typically designed to perform specific, well-defined tasks. They follow a set of predetermined rules to achieve particular outcomes, such as optimizing user engagement, managing bookings, or distributing resources efficiently.
For the most part, correct. These algorithms are often, though increasingly, not always, rule-based and predictable, meaning they execute tasks in a consistent manner based on their programming. These are very different types of algorithms than those employed in general AI.
Well, what makes AI algorithms so unique?
I'm glad you asked. AI algorithms are crafted to enable machines to learn from data and adapt to new situations. They are designed to simulate aspects of human cognition, such as learning, reasoning, and decision-making. Unlike specialized algorithms, AI algorithms can improve their performance over time as they are exposed to more data. They can recognize patterns, make predictions, and adapt to changing conditions, making them more flexible and dynamic. The key differentiator is that AI algorithms are built to evolve and improve autonomously by learning from experiences, whereas specialized algorithms are typically static in their approach, executing tasks based on predefined rules.
So, is the algorithm we hear about in conjunction with social media the same as the algorithms employed by AI?
This is a great question and one that often comes up in discussions about AI and its applications. Let's break it down. Social media algorithms are specifically designed to curate content for users. They analyze user behavior, such as likes, shares, and interactions, to personalize the content that appears in a user's feed. The goal is to increase user engagement by showing content that is relevant and interesting to the individual user. It's true that social media algorithms can and often do use AI techniques to enhance their functionality. They, for example, may employ machine learning models to better predict what content a user will engage with. However, not all social media algorithms are AI-based. Some are rule-based and do not involve learning from data. As I stated earlier, the algorithms in AI are more dynamic in nature than the algorithms that drive other types of applications, including social media. As a matter of fact, AI employs several different types of algorithms to achieve its goal of mimicking human thought and reasoning. Isn't that correct, Mann?
Yes. And that will be a topic for our next episode, which will be part 2 of this episode. Okay, so I saved the least obvious for last. When we think about AI, we wonder how it reasons, but we rarely give any thought to how it understands what we're asking and how it knows to articulate its answers. In other words, input and output. We, as humans, take this for granted. We learn our native language, we listen, we interpret what we heard, we reason in that language, we formulate a response in that language, and we speak in that language. By the time we can think cohesive thoughts, we have so integrated language skills into our thought process that we transcend them. Like breathing, we're no longer even aware we are doing anything special. Now, those of you who are multilingual probably have a better appreciation for all of this because you're more cognizant of the fact that regardless of the language you are working in, internally, you still think in the language that you're most comfortable with. Typically, that's the first language you learn, your native tongue. Therefore, when you are working with another language, there's another layer between you and the outside world. You listen to that language, you translate, you interpret that translation, you reason in your native language, you formulate a response in your native language, you translate that, and you speak it. Well, machines have to learn how to do this too. Their native language consists of ones and zeros. Okay, I'm oversimplifying, but close enough. And that's why you will no doubt hear the phrase natural language processing, or NLP.
Correct, Mann. NLP is a fundamental and fascinating branch of artificial intelligence that deals with the interaction between humans and computers using natural language. Essentially, it's the technology that allows machines to understand, interpret, and respond to human language in a way that's both meaningful and useful. In the broader landscape of AI, NLP plays a critical role. It's the reason why virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa can understand your requests, why translation services can convert text from one language to another, and why chatbots can respond to your questions with something resembling human conversation. Without NLP, we'd be stuck communicating with computers through tedious strings of code, which, let's face it, would be about as enjoyable as nails down a chalkboard.
NLP is the reason you, machine, understand what I'm saying and vice versa. I say something to you in English, you interpret that, you convert it to whatever internal representation you use, you reason around that, and you come up with a response which you then translate back to English and present it to me. Just like a multilingual human.
Really? I suppose so. I really don't even think about it anymore.
I see what you did there. Well, I don't know about you folks, but my brain is full. So let's take a little sanity break, and when we come back, we'll do a little housekeeping, we'll put a bow on this episode, and we'll tell you about what's in store for the next episode, which is part 2 of Yeah Basic, the fundamentals of AI.
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
And we're back. Well, that's it for part 1 of this 2-part episode. And here's what we covered. The basics of AI, prompts and prompt engineering, the Turing test, what is an algorithm, natural language processing, or NLP. We have so much more to cover in our next episode.
That's correct, man. In our next episode, we will dive slightly deeper into the kinds of algorithms that AI uses to mimic human learning and human thought. From there, we will talk about the other half of the AI equation, training data and how the combination of algorithms and training data yields an AI model.
No discussion of training data is complete without a discussion centered around AI bias and privacy concerns. And our chief technical correspondent, Artie Fischel, is preparing an excellent segment all about that for us.
And we wrap things up with a healthy dose of machine learning, including deep learning, and the types of training that models employ, like supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning.
Well, that promises to be jam-packed. And if you were wondering why we split this over 2 episodes, now you know. Hey, here's something we're excited about. We'd like to start up a new segment on the show, an Ask Me Anything segment, where our on-air AIs respond live to your questions. So, if you have any questions you would like me to ask any of our on-air talent, Machine, Artie, Di, even Tommy, send us those questions. Here's how.
You can find us on both Threads and Instagram by our handle, @Host in the Machine Podcast, or look for Host in the Machine Podcast on Facebook. If social media isn't your thing, you can always drop by our website, www.hostinthemachinepodcast.com, and hit us up through our contact page, or just email us at the show at hostinthemachinepodcast.com.
So, watch for our special bonus episode, part 2 of this episode, which will be out before the 15th of next month, and it will be in addition to the 15th episode. Until then, I'm Man.
And I am Machine.
I really have to work on your prompt some more. And we'll talk to you next episode. Di, roll the music and take us home.
All right, folks, let's put a bow on this one. If you feel you missed anything or want to delve deeper, be sure to revisit this episode. Also be sure to check out the episode notes for any helpful info that Man, our very human co-host, managed to misspell there.
Really, Di?
On behalf of everyone at Host in the Machine, thank you so much, dear listener, for joining us today and being a part of our community. We appreciate every single one of you. If you enjoyed today's offering, please consider leaving us a glowing review. It really helps others discover the show. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. For show notes, additional resources and links mentioned in today's show, visit the episodes page of our website at www.hostinthemachinepodcast.com, or look at the episode notes wherever you are listening to this podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts or questions regarding today's episode, as well as any suggestions for future topics. You can find our contact page at www.hostinthemachinepodcast.com, or shoot us an email at theshow@hostinthemachinepodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook at Host in the Machine Podcast, and on both Instagram and Threads at Host in the Machine Podcast. A big thanks to the sponsors of today's show for supporting us, and a shout out to our production team, which is basically all Man, for making this show possible. Music for our podcast is provided by Chicago Johnny Vegas. Host in the Machine virtual co-host software was licensed to the Host in the Machine podcast by John Pagakis. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. Man and Machine will talk to you in the next one. Until then, I'm Di the AI, and this is the Host in the Machine podcast. Adventures in AI with Man and Machine. Laugh, learn, and explore with us.